In fact, I got a twitch in my chin from that part because I kept talking like this all the time, you know. And then as soon as I stopped the part, it went away, you know. It was just this muscle in my chin, you know, because you're talking like that. Hey GQ, I'm Sam Rockwell, and today I'm going to answer one question about almost every movie I've ever done. Good luck.
Charlie's Angels.
Charlie's Angels, yeah.
One of my favorite movies ever. That Simon Says sequence. Is that choreographed or did you just go for it?
That was second unit, you know. So second unit can be very liberating because the director's not there, it's a small crew. And I think we just f***ed around and played some James Brown, and I smoked a cigarette and I did the splits. And I think I asked him to put something slippery on the floor so I could slide like that, like James Brown and stuff. Yeah, it was fun.
Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Yes.
What's the tone like on set when you're trying to make this tragic story funny?
I find with a lot of dark material, you actually have to keep it somewhat light because it is so intense that you have to have moments of levity to kind of break it up. It helps to have Woody Harrelson on set. Frances sort of wanted to keep away from the cops and kind of keep her distance a little bit.
Why do you like working with Martin McDonagh so much?
To be a great director, I think with actors anyway, you have to have empathy and compassion, and Martin's got that. He's a nice person, you know? And so he cares, and he cares about acting, and he loves actors, you know? He's married to an actor.
The White Lotus.
The White Lotus, yeah. Everyone watches fucking White Lotus. Everybody. So everyone and I was in Easter Island when the show aired, you know.
First impression, the first time you read that monologue?
Well, I was prepped by Leslie and Walt. They told me it was really something, and then I was sort of blown away by it. And then I wanted to do it. I was worried I wouldn't have enough time to prepare. I talked to Mike and pitched him some things for the other part of the shows, you know, and he was very cool about it. Sex is a poetic act. It's a metaphor. Metaphor for what? Are we our forms? Am I a middle-aged white guy on the inside too? Or inside? Could I be an Asian girl? Woody Harrelson dropped out of it. He was going to do it, so yeah, I jumped in, yeah.
What was the most surprising phone call you got?
I mean, the text from Sean Penn was kind of wild, you know. I always think he's like fixing things in Haiti and reading Proust, or like, you know, after Hurricane Katrina going to New Orleans and stuff. So I didn't think he was on Sunday nights watching The White Lotus, but I guess his girlfriend watches it, so.
Did you see that coming?
No, I did not. I did not. Not like that.
Good luck, have fun, don't die. You seem to gravitate towards playing an irreverent anti-hero.
Yes, I do.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I grew up on those movies in the 70s, you know, Jack Nicholson and Last Detail, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, stuff like that. And I am a weirdo, and I think I'm likable, you know. I mean, I think I'm essentially like a nice guy, you know. My experience is that everyone on the planet Earth has rage, has sorrow, has, you know, sadness, has great joy sometimes. And, you know, it's like everyone experiences these things, and it's just our job to kind of exploit those feelings, you know. And
you're doing all that in this like giant suit with all these like bits and bobs hanging off.
Yeah, gore. The suit was a nightmare, but I didn't know that it was going to be like that. He showed me some drawings. I thought it was going to be lighter. It was very heavy, I think 40 pounds. I had 6 dressers. I had a cooling suit, like astronauts have to cool it off. Battery pack, in-camera effects, so the lights would like light up because of this battery, and the battery overheated one time. So it was not great. You know, Gore would say, you know, can you run faster? I'd be like, you get in this fucking thing, you run faster.
Fosse Verdon.
Yes, Fosse Verdon, yeah.
How did it go training for dance formally after years of dancing on screen?
Well, my dancing is just screwing around. You know, I'm not a dancer. Those dancers, wow, you know, they know how to dance. So there was a woman named Marianne Lamb who taught me the vocabulary. And the first thing she says is, I don't break. So if you need a break, you got to tell me. And I couldn't keep up with her. She's probably a good 10 years older than I am, and she's fit as a fiddle. And I couldn't keep up with her. sweating profusely. The weight loss was very intense for 8 months, and then staying at that weight and, you know, knowing the difference, what a line is, you know, to really have a line in your dancing is really, it's all that stuff is educational, yeah.
Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah, Jojo Rabbit.
How would you describe Taika Waititi's process?
Oh my God. There were times, you know, when you call martini, you know, martini's the last shot, they would actually bring him a martini. Well, he was playing Hitler. He was getting frustrated. They were losing the light. He started yelling at the crew, and he realized he was in the Hitler outfit, and it wasn't a good look. Yelling in the Hitler outfit. But I was playing a gay Nazi who's sort of in the closet and is disillusioned with being a Nazi and wants to come out of the closet, I think. And that was the subtext. I don't know if that came across, but that's what that character was all about.
So, a little about me. Who am I and why am I here talking to a bunch of little titty grabbers instead of leading my men into battle towards glorious death? Great question. I've asked it myself every day since Operation Screw Up. I lost a perfectly good eye in a totally preventable enemy attack.
I had this eye that was like white, you know, and it was really intense. It was really intense. We had to get somebody to put the contacts in, and this poor guy came over, and I was sitting in the chair, and the guy was going like this, you know, and I was like, okay, wait a minute, let's take a little break, and then we went and took a break, and then we came back, and he was like this, and I was like, all right, maybe we should take another break. And then we ended up getting this girl who did it, and she was very calm, and she did it.
The bad guys.
The bad guys.
How do you approach a voice acting role?
Occasionally, on the animation stuff, I will go to my acting coach, but usually it's such a strange process. It goes over like 2 years. You don't really have, it doesn't really work like that. You kind of have to go in and just be open, watch the latest cut. It is awkward because you're in this little bubble and you're trying to like get energy going. You gotta like kind of, you know, pump it up. Sometimes you jump around, you know, and get out of breath. I mean, Zazie and I had like a fight scene to do where we're sparring, so we had to like get out of breath and kind of, you know, fight. It's always helpful to be in the room with the other actors. I have a friend of mine, Mike Godere. Michael will read with me sometimes, and Zazie Beetz, who's also in Good Luck, Have Fun, is in Bad Guys. It's funny. Zazie, it's full circle for me and Zazie.
7 Psychopaths. What kind of research do you do when you're preparing to play a psychopath?
Martin McDonagh and I talked about a lot of Scorsese stuff, but I did actually read this book, What the Difference Between a Sociopath and a Psychopath Is. But I also sent it to a therapist and, you know, worked on it with my acting coach. If
you were to give an actor advice of like one thing they can do if they're playing a psychopath, what would you tell them?
Oh, wow. Don't overdo it. Alan Rickman told me for Charlie's Angels, keep it simple. He said, you know, Sam, I killed someone and then I ate a sandwich, you know. So he was really emphasizing, keep it simple.
The Green Mile.
I was very nervous. One of my first studio movies, yeah.
How was it spitting on Tom Hanks?
You know, he was really cool. He just let me kind of freak out. He was really like, he was digging my kind of like stand-up comedy.
Did you really spit on him?
You know, I did, and then I think we had this like turkey baster of like chocolate moon pie sludge that I think we spit. But that was David Morris. I spit on Tom Hanks, just regular spit, yeah. Stanislavski says concentration and relaxation are the most important things about acting. I think with a character like that, you really have to be free. You know, you can't be hemmed in. And I think Frank Darabont was really great about letting me be free and not be hemmed in. So I would improvise maybe a little more than some of the actors. I had a little more liberty because the guy's, you know, crazy.
Vice.
Vice, oh boy, yeah.
What's the research process?
Yeah.
Especially when you're playing a real person who's so familiar to us.
It's a lot of pressure because he's so famous, you know? It's like playing Elvis Presley or Michael Jackson or something. It's like everybody's got an opinion about how he talks, you know?
So listen, I got a lack of experience problem in the polls, and you one of the most experienced guys around. You wanna jump on board, be my vice?
In fact, I got a twitch in my chin from that part because I kept talking like this all the time, you know, and it would put this, and I just was overusing this muscle, but I was going crazy because this twitch wouldn't go away, and I thought, am I exhausted? Do I need more magnesium? And then as soon as I stopped the part, it went away, you know. It was just this muscle in my chin, you know, because you're talking like that. There was an interview on Jimmy Kimmel he did that I listened and watched quite a bit, his audiobook. I even tried to run, he had an 8 something mile, he jogged. He did it when he was 40, and I tried to do it on the treadmill. I could barely do it. I mean, I guess he was fit, or maybe he claimed he was fit. I think he was pretty fit.
Were you surprised when Adam McKay asked you to play?
Yeah, it was crazy. I met him down in a hotel, and I said, you know, I'm incredibly arrogant and also completely terrified about the prospect of playing this part. You know, like I really think I can do it, but it terrifies me. I think he saw that I looked enough like him with the help of some prosthetics, and then I had a vibe that would complement Bale, you know, and we're about the same age, and it would work.
Moon.
Yes, Moon, oh boy.
How do you prepare to play opposite yourself?
You have to have a huge ego, is the first thing. That trick is really fun because you can be your own director and you can have control over the scene because you're playing both parts. So you kind of have control of how the scenes are going to go. That's a trick I've seen done well a couple of times, but the time that I really remember was Jeremy Irons in Dead Ringers, yeah. So I watched that quite a bit. And I watched Midnight Cowboy. I was stealing his sickness. So my clone gets sick and I kind of stole Ratso's, whatever that was, tuberculosis or whatever the hell it was.
Were you really by yourself the whole time?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Was Spacey on set with you as the robot?
No.
Really?
Script supervisor, yeah.
Wow. Iron Man 2.
Yes.
There's
Fun.
a rumor that you were initially in talks to play Iron Man instead of Robert Downey Jr.
Well, there was a phone call, and they said, would you be interested? I said, yeah, it was John. I knew John, and I knew Pete Billingsley, and they called me, and that was the last I heard. And the next thing I know, Robert Downey got it.
But then they called you again.
Then they called me again because I knew Justin Theroux, and Justin Theroux was a very good friend of mine. When Justin got the job to write it, as he'd done Tropic Thunder, I said, hey, put me in the movie, you know, make me one of the bad guys or something. And he was like, yeah. I think him and Favreau came up with the plan of instead of one villain, splitting it into two villains with me and Mickey.
Are you going to come back to the MCU?
I would love to. I mean, I've now worked with Chris Hemsworth. I know Scarlett. I know Ruffalo. I would love to do something silly, like, you know, what Ruffalo did with Chris Hemsworth in the Thor movie, you know, Ragnarok.
The Way Back.
Oh, man, I love that movie.
Me too.
Yeah, that's a fun movie.
What was the best and worst part of going to work at a real operating water park every day?
Well, we were ad-libbing, and it was a functioning park. So there were real kids there, real parents, and real camp counselors, so to speak. So, you know, sometimes the ad-libs would get a little rated R, and one of the people who worked there got very upset.
Duncan, please report to the Administrative Office International. I have to announce it over the PA. As my voice won't carry that far, my throat suffered major damages during an intense makeout session with Lewis's mom. She has a forked tongue and a touch of the herpes.
We got her wrath, and understandably, and we had to apologize and tone down some of our ad-libs. I mean, that's essentially Bill Murray and Meatballs. You know, that's the character.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. How did you film those second head scenes?
The second head scenes was really tricky. A lot of green screen, prosthetics, a mixture of prosthetics and CGI. Not fun, really. It's all that kind of stuff that Jim Carrey and Eddie Murphy do really well, and Jerry Lewis. It's like multiple personality kind of thing. Those puppets were phenomenal, and the sets were incredible. Animatronics, and it was just incredible. And I worked with John Malkovich on that, actually. We have a scene together. That was the first time I got to know John.
Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest. Who doesn't love that fucking movie, right?
How many times did you have to do that scream?
That was probably a lot, yeah. But the one that really got me was on my freak out on the spaceship, my anxiety attack, my panic attack on the spaceship coming down.
Yeah.
And not being fear that I was going to run out of oxygen. That was a scary one.
In that screaming scene, you're scared of like the CGI aliens. How do you get that scared of something that's not really in front of you?
You know, you have to really use your imagination, and again, you have to treat it like a drama. It's not a comedy. You know, I watched Bill Paxton and Aliens for that. Yeah, Michael Keaton and Night Shift. And it took a lot out of me because I had a lot of caffeine, so I couldn't sleep that night. It was a lot. I don't know if I have the energy for that kind of stuff now. I mean, I'd have to really, that's a lot of mochachinos. Yeah.
Confessions of a Dangerous Mind.
That is a great movie.
Do you think Chuck Barris really was a secret agent?
I think he maybe met a recruiter and maybe toyed around with it.
Did he think that he was?
He did. He maintained that he killed people.
How was
Yeah.
it working with George Clooney on his debut?
George really taught me how to be simple and not like put too much in there. He really did his homework on that movie. He took from like Frankenheimer and Mike Nichols, and like we had a great DP, Tommy, and like we had storyboards on the sides every day. And George gave me a video camera, said just live with Chuck basically, and I hung out with Chuck. And then I did this training. Matt Damon hooked us up with this Jason Bourne type shit guy who kind of gave me a little training, you know. None of it really made it in the movie, but it was fun to have that.
Snow Angels.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I've watched a few of your interviews, and you mentioned Snow Angels in almost every one of them.
Yeah.
Why does this movie stick out to you so much as you look back on your career?
That's a good question. You know, it was just a real, I think David allowed me to do what I wanted to do. David Gordon Green and I created the character together based on this book, and it's a dark story. And there was a documentary that Brad Pitt gave me actually when I was doing Jesse James about these born-again Christians who blow up abortion clinics. And I watched that. That was very helpful, watching that, because the guy was kind of had a lot of faith, but he was an alcoholic. It was a really cool movie to do.
Matchstick Men.
Matchstick Men, really fun. Had a lot of fun with Nick. Alison Lohman, incredible. Bruce McGill. Ridley Scott, you know.
How is Ridley Scott?
That's pretty cool. He's really cool. He's really cool. We went to Disneyland with his wife. We did the Disneyland kind of like cut the line thing. It's really cool. But Ridley's just great. He just kind of says shit out of the side of his mouth. He's got a cigar, and he let us really go with that. He let us kind of fuck around on that.
Ridley Scott's obviously directed some huge movies with major set pieces. This film is much smaller.
Much smaller.
How was that working with him on something that was like so small, literally 3 actors, real life?
It was really cool. I mean, they would never make that movie for that amount of money now. We had nice trailers and we got paid, and it would never happen like that. A little character piece like that would never happen like that unless it was on TV maybe. He's a nice man, Ridley. He's a very, very cool guy, yeah.
The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. Who was the most method about living in the time period out of the cast?
Casey Affleck, because he didn't brush his fucking teeth. And I said, they got makeup for that. You could you just get somebody to do makeup on you. But I love Casey. But yeah, he didn't brush his fucking teeth. I didn't want to do that movie initially, and then I was glad I did it, but because it's such a great movie. But I met Jeremy Renner on it. We were doing a train robbery scene that went on forever. It was very hot, and it was night shoots in Edmonton, and we were going a little crazy. The heat, people were getting like heat stroke, and we had these potato sacks on our heads, so you couldn't tell it was us. So it didn't really matter. So like Sam Shepard was in the background, out of focus, and you couldn't tell it was him. So it was like 4 a.m, and they're like, "Where's Sam?" He took off. He went home. It was really funny.
Welcome to Collinwood.
Oh man, oh boy. That's how I met George Clooney.
If you, Sam Rockwell, were to commit a heist, what would your job be on the team?
That'd be like the guy who gives the pep talk or something. I guess Ruffalo would be on my team. Scarlett, Patty Clarkson, late great Michael Jeter.
No George Clooney?
George would definitely be on the team. He'd probably be the head of the team.
If he's the head of the team and you're just giving the pep talk?
Yeah, I'll let him do all the hard work, yeah.
Richard Jewell.
Yes.
What is a Clint Eastwood set like?
Incredible. The fact that more people don't do it like that is kind of insane, because I once did a 4-hour day on a Clint Eastwood movie. I did often 8-hour days, sometimes 6-hour days, which is unheard of. In fact, we got into trouble because we had so much time on our hands because we were shooting so fast and we would get off early. He's really prepared. He knows what he wants. And then he's also very free, lets you do what you want. And he gets what he wants and he's out of there. There's no bullshit. There's no like nonsense. And you don't waste time. You just don't waste time.
Gentlemen Broncos.
Oh my God.
How was the Lynx as a scene partner?
The Lynx as a scene partner. The Lynx was kind of scary. We were all a little terrified of the Lynx. I stayed far away from the Lynx. I was not messing with the Lynx. Now the worst part was the Salt Lake, actually, when I was in the scuba outfit in the Salt Lake, and you realize why they call it a Salt Lake. The gnats attacked my face because I had this fake beard and glue. They loved the glue, and the whole crew had these like nets on to protect them from the bugs, and I did not. Mike White and I met on that. We did a junket together, and then I did the one and only Ivan with Mike White also. Yeah, it's full circle.
Mr. Wright, I was studying your filmography, and I realized this is actually a very rare role for you as a love interest.
Yes, yeah.
Why do you think that
Why
is?
is that? That's not right. And even that guy's a little weird, right? He's kind of he's a killer. He's a psycho. I think it was sort of a perfect match with me and Anna at that time. We were just a quirky enough couple to be together.
So you're not turning them down?
I'm not turning them down, but you also don't want to do a bad movie just because you want to be a leading man. You want to do a good movie. So if that means you're going to play the weirdo, but you're doing it with Ridley Scott, that's better than doing the lead role, you know, where you get to kiss the girl and shoot the gun, but the movie's bad. That led to Argyle because I had done some fighting on that. Fake fighting is a lot like dancing. It's really fun, you know, if you don't get hurt.
Laggies.
Laggies.
Another great movie.
Well, that's a normal guy. That's a little more of a quirky leading man who, gets the girl kind of.
How was it playing a normal guy for once?
I got really sick when I got to Seattle. I had Lyme's disease, and I didn't know I had it. I got bit by a bug, and I had to go into the hospital, and I think I was worried. Kira probably thought I was like a heroin addict or something, but I got out, and she's like, "You okay?" I was like, yeah. Lynn was just really special, really cool filmmaker. I think she'd be doing like big stuff right now. You know what I mean? If she was around.
See How They Run.
Yeah.
I read that you briefly worked as a private detective.
Oh, yeah.
Did that inform this character?
Kinda. I was more of an assistant to a private detective. I was an apprentice. It didn't last long. Somebody in my acting class told me I'd get $50 if I helped him out with this thing. We trailed somebody. That was it. I was broke. So we went, you know.
Frost Nixon.
Yes.
What's Ron Howard like?
He's great. I mean, he's really smart. You know, the play had been on Broadway, and they said, "You want to go meet Ron Howard?" I met him, and we hit it off, and I think I told him what he wanted to hear, and he cast me, and that was it. Rebecca Hall was like, yeah, just a kid. We were all kids.
Trolls World Tour.
Yes.
Is this the first time that you've sang for a film?
Yeah, it might be. Hopefully it's not the last time. That wasn't very good. You know, I'm a crooner. I can croon a little bit. I crooned in a couple of movies, but nothing crazy, nothing operatic.
Cowboys and Aliens.
Long. It's long, but fun.
Long.
Met Walt Goggins on that.
Olivia Wilde too.
Olivia Wilde,
She's in there.
yeah. Daniel Craig.
What do you enjoy about doing Westerns?
I don't love horses, but I did learn how to do the lasso eventually for a play. So that came in handy. Horses are tricky, you know. Those old guns are interesting. I like cowboys. I like their great archetype. They're not easy to shoot. You know, you're in the desert and the horses are not, it's not power steering, you know.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yes. You have a line in this film that for some reason has stuck in the brains of 90s kids. Do you remember what that line is?
Something about cigarettes, right? Menthol or what?
Regular.
Something. Regular or menthol. Yeah.
Regular or menthol?
Yeah.
Regular or menthol?
Do you have an idea why people love that line so much?
I have no idea. It's a good commercial, I guess, yeah.
Heist.
Yes.
I've heard you reference Gene Hackman as a favorite of yours.
Yes.
How was it working with him?
Amazing. He was phenomenal. Delroy Lindo, Ricky Jay, Danny DeVito. Yeah, Gene Hackman, I learned a lot from him. He was one of the greats. Yeah, he was really, really nice to me.
Do you get intimidated when you're working with someone that you have looked up to?
Absolutely, yeah. But at the end of the day, they want you to kind of bring it, you know? And that was certainly true with Gene Hackman.
Blaze.
Oh, yeah.
Why did you take this part as Oil Man #1?
I'll tell you the real reason. I was doing a favor for Ethan, but I also wanted to see my old pal, Steve Zahn. I knew I'd see Josh, but I also really, really, really wanted to see Steve Zahn, and I never get to see him. We did Safe Men together.
Let's talk about Safe Men.
Yeah. Let's talk about it.
I spoke with Mark Ruffalo about this movie.
Okay.
I'm
What
going to
did he
ask
say?
you the same question
Sweet
that I asked
stash,
him.
man.
Almost all the actors in this film, soon after it came out, became big names. Did you see
Yeah.
that coming?
Hell no. No.
That's not what Mark said.
What did Mark say?
He said he did see it coming.
He did. Well, good for him. What is he, an agent?
Box of Moonlight.
Yeah.
How did this film change the trajectory of your career?
It really helped a lot. People saw it at Sundance, and it got me a lot of attention. And
Was this your first Sundance?
yes, it led to Lawn Dogs and Safe Men and Jerry and Tom.
F is for family.
Oh, yeah.
What's it like playing the same character for nearly 6 years?
God, was it 6 years? Well, it was fun. We'd go in the booth. That made animation kind of fun for me, because Bill Burr and the head guy was fantastic, and then Bill Burr became a friend from that.
In the Soup, what was it about working with Alexander Rockwell that made you want to work with him on 3 more films?
Alex gave me my first start. I went to acting class with Jennifer Beals, and I met him through her, and he got me started in independent film, yeah.
G-Force. When
Oh,
this
boy.
came across your desk, what made you want to do it?
I don't know, it seemed like a cool job to do at the time. Zach Galifianakis is in it.
It's super fun.
Yeah.
I'm not a
Yeah.
G-Force hater.
Good. Don't be a G-Force hater.
Clownhouse. How was it being on your first film set?
It was great. We shot at Coppola's house. I didn't know anything about acting. I learned how to my first initial film acting job, you know. It was fun.
Glory Days. How do you take Ben Affleck seriously with that goatee?
Well, I thought he looked quite rakish with the mohawk. I liked his mohawk. Yeah. He should try that again.
Now we're going to do the rapid fire round.
Okay.
I'm going to list basically as many movies as I can get through. And you're just going to tell me the first thing that comes to mind. Celebrity.
Hung out with DiCaprio. I remember sleeping in the back of a van from Atlantic City with Leo. We were like coming back from Atlantic City one time. He showed me this poster to this movie, and I was like, what's this movie? He says, I think this is gonna be really good. And it was the Titanic. I was like, yeah, good luck with that, buddy.
Yeah, kind of an underground movie.
Yeah.
The Best of Enemies.
Oh, Taraji Henson, Babu. Yeah, beautiful.
Joan Crawford's Children.
Oh my gosh, full circle. Yeah, well that was based on the Mommy Dearest book. It was an improv show. It was the first thing I ever did when I was 10 years old with my mom, yeah.
Choke.
Clark Gregg, just what an experience. God, you know, Angelica Houston.
The Search for One-Eyed Jimmy.
My God, everybody was in that. Steve Buscemi, Sam Jackson, I mean, it was incredible. Ann Mara, incredible.
Blue Iguana.
Blue Iguana, a lot of fun. Ben Schwartz, good time.
Basquiat.
Jeffrey Wright, David Bowie, Chris Walken, I mean, you know, incredible. Michael Wincott, yeah.
The One and Only Ivan.
Really fun. Bryan Cranston. I spent a lot of time with Danny DeVito. Really, really fun to be around him. Smartest guy I know. Can drink you under the table.
A Midsummer's Night's Dream. Did you overlap with Christian Bale at all?
Yeah, I did. We lived in a house together. Callista Flockhart. Really fun to do Shakespeare.
Your costume's fun in this one too.
Yeah. I play Thisbe.
You were on 2 separate episodes of Law and
I
Order.
was,
playing
yeah.
2 separate characters.
They were both like scumbags, right? I think one was a cop. One was a longshoreman. Yeah, it's a rite of passage.
Digging for Fire.
Yeah, that was interesting. Never did something like that before. We drank alcohol on set, which is not something I recommend. We had 6-hour days. It was really weird. We'd start at like 6 p.m. and stop at midnight. It was a very interesting process.
Is that typical of Joe Swanberg, or
Yeah, it's kind of his bag. You know, it's like an improv thing. It's an interesting process. But I love Drinking Buddies. I thought that was a cool movie.
Light Sleeper.
I ruined my voice for that, and then we had to dub it.
Strictly Business.
Halle Berry's first film, I think. Sam Jackson. Sam Jackson and I have done 4 movies together, but we've only worked together once in Argyle. So there you go.
Great.
That's
we
it.
got through quite a few.
Yeah.
There are still 20 that we didn't cover, but
20.
yeah.
Wow.
But we're out of time and
Yeah.
energy, so I think we'll call it there.
Good Lord. What are the 20 movies? That's insane.